Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from New Belgium. I've reviewed this one, or I don't think I've actually not reviewed it by itself. I did the side by side, which was pretty lucky to find the old fat tire versus the new fat tire. Was able to find that at Total Wine. Do the little comparison, and they're just vastly different beers. I mean, the fact that they reuse the name Fat Tire is really weird. Not remotely the same beer at all, but let's just try this beer by itself. This was on BOGO, so I ended up buying. Oh man, that beer is so good. The Cryo Ranger. Cryo Ranger is fantastic. Basically, like cold IPA, dry, delicious. And then we got some Fat Tire just as a crusher kind of beer, and it's surprisingly they'll put it in cans, But I guess they used to do the bottles with it, with the logo and all that stuff. So let's dig into this beer. This is Enjoy by February, so this was bottled somewhere in September, so still pretty fresh. Yeah, let's try this beer. So, Fat Tire was quote unquote one of the amber ales around. Well, was it an amber ale? Not very hoppy, because like traditionally amber or BJCP wise, amber ale's pretty hoppy. Like a Boon to Amber from Anderson Valley is quite hoppy. Let's just call it more of like an amber lager ish kind of. I mean, I think it was ale fermentation, but the beer in general, though, the one I reviewed, was more like a sort of like a pub ale, like a British pub ale. Like a little bit of crystal malt, some like fruity esters in there. Actually, quite forward in yeast character. So, like a pub ale is like the best description I could have. Something like a strong bitter kind of thing, but like not as hoppy. So I don't know. It was a weird beer, but like obviously people loved it. Let's dig into this one. So this beer is obviously very pale compared to an amber lager, or amber or whatever. It is a medium gold color. Yeah, medium gold color. So not even remotely close to amber. On the nose, I mean, that is straight grains. I mean, has a lot of the reminders of like macro lager and stuff. The grainy sweetness. We brew a beer that pretty much is like a light blonde ale. That very much smells like this, just like grains. And it has this macro-ish kind of nose to it, right? Like sweet grains for days, a little bit of that kind of like, I don't know. Our beer has the beer is, by the way, called drinking beer. It has this kind of like yeah, that's what it is, like corn chip, right? So it's like I believe it's a isobutyraldehyde, just like grainy grains for days. A lot of macro lagers have this kind of similar aroma where it's just smells like grains. It smells like. And the thing is, it's a different kind of graininess that you get from like German Helles, which is, that Pilsner malt kind of character, or Pilsners, or, it's not a German kind of graininess. It is an American familiar macro lager kind of graininess, right? I guess European lagers can have too. This grains for days is crazy. It's very push forward on that. And yeah, I mean, on the palate, full blind, I would have guessed it was like a Budweiser or a Heineken or something, or a Negro Modelo, like just like the nose, just grainies for days. It is cleaner, I will say. Like a lot of those macro lagers I find have like strange off flavors in them. This one's a little cleaner, and then yeah, and then you just get that lingering grainy sweetness on the back end, right? It's grainy sweet on the nose. So it's grainy on the nose. Which smells a little drier, and then you get that flavor up front, which is a dry graininess, and then on the back end you get a little bit more sweetness, like that macro grainy sweetness. You guys can probably count how many times I'm using the G word. There's really not much to say about this beer. It is like, you know what? A great analogy would be like, what was it? Spotted Cow that I have from New Glarus. That beer just, man, again, full blind, just really does taste like a macro beer. Like, no wonder it sells like a macro beer, because it tastes like one, right? Like, why would macro drinkers buy so much of such, why would why would drinkers buy so much of that one beer? Because it tastes like macro lager, right? Like, same thing goes with that Boulevard unfiltered wheat. Like, it crushes in like Kansas City and all that stuff. Well, if it tastes like macro, obviously a lot of people are gonna buy it, like, right? And that's what this does. It full blind. Again, if you give me in a full blind glass, I would have a hard time picking that out. This was some kind of historically important, craft beer that existed a recipe for decades. Well, obviously not anymore. They've really just recreated the brand into a macro lager tasting beer. They call it an ale fermentation, all this stuff. I mean, even freaking Kona Big Wave is hoppier than this, and that's a light blonde ale, which again crushes because it does sort of taste like macro lager. But that beer at least has like some noticeable hoppiness and character to it. This one doesn't. I really taste no hoppiness in this beer. Just straight grain for days. I mean, it's fine. It's tasty. It doesn't have a lot of the all flavors that the macro lagers do, so I'll give it that. But yeah, I mean, that's a shame. It really doesn't have character like a, when you drink craft beer, you really expect a little bit more character and a divert. I mean, the goal, like, what is the point of craft? Divergence from macro beer, macro lager, and this sort of tastes very close to that. Let's give it an 80. Just give it an 80. That's Fat Tire. Let me know what you guys think. For the diehard Fat Tire fans, I feel so bad for you guys. Rest in peace. This beer tastes nothing crafty at all. But for, I guess purchasers, like, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy this beer, but if you're going to, buy one, get one and pack it in with like a big juicy or whatever kind of Ranger IPA thingy, and then you can give me like 6 of these, sure, I'll take it. And, sort of a set it, forget it kind of beer, right? Don't think about it kind of beer. So 80, let me know what you guys think. Cheers, later.